Thank you, Mr. McKenzie. You guys look great today. Jacob and Kim, nice job. You're going to make us all happy today, at least. And if you go into law, let me know. It's never too early to start recruiting. I'm humbled and honored to speak at today's graduation. I'm humbled because I must confess that I do not remember a single thing about my own high school graduation or a single thing about the commencement address, other than being relatively confident that 3 words were uttered at some point during the ceremony, my favorite 3 words at the time, Jeffrey, Stewart, Sutton. I have no idea what happened. My modest role in today's ceremony is not lost on me. At the same time, I'm deeply honored to be your speaker. The Columbus Academy has been a constant and invaluable part of my family's life for the past 25 years. As Mr. McKenzie pointed out, I started teaching here in 1985. This was my first real job, and I learned more in 2 years of teaching here than I did at any school I ever attended. You might be wondering why I lasted just 2 years as a teacher. Here's a story that might suggest why. In one respect, the Academy of 1985 is no different from the Academy of today. By late spring, it can be a challenge for any teacher, a seasoned veteran or a rookie like me, to keep a group of 13-year-old students engaged. By May of that first year of teaching, the students were getting a little bored of my routine, and frankly, I was getting a little bored of theirs. So I had an idea, what seemed like a great idea at the time. I would blindfold my students and teach the whole 40-minute class blindfolded. The idea was that the kids might listen a little better if they were using just one sense, their 2 ears, and if there was no way for their wandering eyes to distract them. So far, so good. I think it was a pretty good idea. There was just one problem. I decided to blindfold myself as well. I wanted to show the kids that I really believed in what we were doing. That didn't quite work out. By the end of the class, there was just one person blindfolded, me, and a class full of 7th graders trying to suppress their laughter. I suspect Mr. Exline's evaluation did not account for that particular story. So today's parents should be thankful for at least 2 things. You should be grateful for the fine teachers that taught your children, and you should be especially grateful that I was not one of them. While I'm pleased to be here today, given my long connection with the Academy, I am most honored for a different reason. This is a remarkable and truly impressive class, even by the standards of the Columbus Academy. I don't know all of you, but I have come to learn about most of you through junior speeches, a constant of Sutton dinner family conversations, sporting events, coaching, recitals, plays, even the occasional party. If push came to shove, I could turn this commencement address upside down and premise it entirely on what you have taught us, not what we adults can teach you. The virtues of stick-to-itiveness, the courage it takes to shoot for the stars, the synergies you get when you place a talented group of people together, and the limitless possibilities of a group that suppresses its own individual needs for a common goal. Nothing will surprise me when it comes to the future of this class, your education, your careers, your successes. I thus am setting my sights quite high today, and I'm going to suggest something bold: how to make history. Ambitious, I realize, but we can do it in the next 12 minutes. If you want to make history, you might start by learning something from it. Let's start by looking at what happened in history on June 11th, this soon-to-be memorable day. I have some good news and some bad news. First, the bad news. Not much of anything happened on June 11th over the past several thousand years. That is a lot of years and a lot of June 11ths when nothing of great consequence happened. Here are the kinds of trivial and haphazard events for which June 11th is known. Back in 1936 on this day, the International Surrealist Exhibition opened in London, England. Oh, to be alive in 1936. 1 year earlier, on June 11th, 1935, Edwin Armstrong gave the first public demonstration of FM radio in New Jersey. The excitement is building. And on June 11th, 1509, Henry VIII married the first of his 6 wives, Catherine of Aragon, in what must have been the least promising marriages of all time. Now, I don't want to be unfair to fans of surreal art, FM radio, or Henry VIII, but let's face it, this is not an earth-shattering list of events. So that's the bad news. You are graduating on a day that, as a matter of history, has generated a collective yawn. But there was another way to look at this, and that is the good news. The graduates of the class of 2010, as I see it, have an open date with history. A June 11th just begging for something memorable positive, and remarkable to happen. If any academy class can take advantage of this opportunity, it is yours. So how are you going to fill this page in history? The first thing you must know by now is that many of the people who make history in one sense, who appear in the history books, who are on the front pages of the newspaper, who make the most money, are not admirable people. Some are scoundrels, some are worse. Many of the people who make history make it clear what not to do with our lives. So the goal is not making history, it's making history for the better. And the goal is not making, and history is not about the past, it is about changing the future. Many of the opportunities you are going to have to change the future are going to occur in your private lives, by who your friends are and how you treat them, by how you choose to get involved in your community, and by whether you choose to create a family of your own. The parents of today's graduating seniors all have three future-changing events in common. We have raised a child, we have fulfilled the goal of every parent since the beginning of time, to give our children a better education than the one we had, and we have reached a point in our lives, a happy point in our lives, where our most fervent dreams revolve around the hopes we have for our children, not for ourselves. But let me focus on your more public role in changing the future. You get to choose whether you want to be a doctor, teacher, or lawyer, whether you want to start a nonprofit organization, or whether you want to take on that most underappreciated of tasks, starting a business and providing others with a livelihood and a decent place to work. That is your call. And by this time in your life, you already know the basics for thriving in your job of choice. That job better turn on your own interests and values, not your parents, not your friends, not society's. Hard work always beats talent, because talent is nothing more than effort multiplied by the passage of time. Treat everybody with respect, and don't rationalize away your mistakes and failures. Learn from them. Experience is primarily the sum of your failures, not your successes. But you already know all of this. And if you don't, check out commencementspeech.com, which presumably has a bunch of like-minded advice. I say presumably because, to my distress, I learned that the website is currently under construction and unavailable.